Imagine waking up tomorrow to a headline that reads, "Everything will change." Your job, your relationships, your health, the world as you know it. How would you feel? For most of us, the answer is simple: terrified. Now, what if I told you that headline isn't hypothetical, it's already true? Right now, as you sit here, the future you fear is unfolding. The ground beneath you is shifting. The rules are being rewritten. And here's the good news. This is not a crisis. It's an invitation. 500 years ago, a samurai stood on a battlefield, outnumbered and afraid. His teacher approached and asked, "What do you hear?" The samurai replied, "The rush of the river, the wind in the trees." The teacher nodded. That is the sound of the universe telling you, nothing is permanent, not your fear, not your enemy, not even this moment. The samurai won the battle, not because his circumstances changed, but because he did. Close your eyes for a moment and think about the world we live in. The year is 2025, and uncertainty is not just a passing storm, it is the climate we inhabit. Technology evolves at a pace that leaves us breathless. Artificial intelligence reshapes industries overnight, leaving workers to wonder if their skills will still matter tomorrow. Social media connects us to thousands, yet leaves us lonelier than ever, comparing our real lives to curated highlights. Global events like pandemics, climate shifts, political upheavals unfold with a rapidity that feels overwhelming. I think of a young woman I met named Priya. She was a software engineer in Silicon Valley, a place where innovation is celebrated, but stability is rare. Priya had spent years climbing the corporate ladder, only to find that the higher she rose, the more precarious her footing felt. Every new technology threatened to make her skills obsolete. Every reorganization left her wondering if she'd still have a job next quarter. She confided in me one evening, her voice trembling. "I don't know how to plan for the future when the ground keeps shifting beneath me." Priya's story is not unique, it is the story of our time. But here's the truth. Stability is not something we find by controlling the world around us. It comes from learning to move with uncertainty, not against it. The very thing we fear, impermanence, can become the key to our freedom. Over 2,500 years ago, a prince named Siddhartha Gautama sat beneath a tree, determined to uncover the truth of human suffering. What he realized was radical, that impermanence, or anicca, is not a flaw in existence, but its fundamental nature. Everything changes, the seasons, our bodies, our thoughts, our circumstances. We often see impermanence as a threat, something to be feared or fought against. But the Buddha saw it differently. He taught that resisting impermanence is like trying to grasp water. The tighter we squeeze, the more it slips through our fingers. Let me tell you a story about a potter named Taro. Taro spent his life crafting beautiful ceramics, each piece a masterwork of delicate artistry. But no matter how perfect his creations were, he knew they were fragile. One day, a customer stormed into his shop, furious that a vase she had purchased had cracked. "It was perfect," she cried. "Now it's ruined." Taro looked at her gently and said, "No, it is not ruined. It is simply changing. The crack is now part of its story." He then showed her the art of kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold, making the cracks not just visible but beautiful. The customer left with a new understanding. Imperfection and impermanence are not flaws. They are part of the journey. Think about your own life. Have you ever held on to a job, a relationship, or an identity long after it stopped serving you, simply because letting go felt too uncertain? Have you ever noticed how suffering arises not from change itself, but from our resistance to it? The loss of a loved one, the end of a chapter, the shifting of dreams, these are not just personal tragedies but universal experiences. They remind us that life is fluid, and our peace depends not on stopping the river, but on learning to swim. So how do we cultivate acceptance? How do we move from fear to freedom in the face of uncertainty? The answer lies in equanimity, the art of observing change without judgment, without clinging, without being swept away. One of the most powerful tools for this is mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness is not about emptying the mind or achieving bliss. It is about being present, watching the ebb and flow of life with curiosity and compassion. I remember a man named Carlos, a financial trader in New York. Carlos lived in a world of high stakes and higher stress, where fortunes could be made or lost in seconds. He came to me exhausted, his mind racing with what-ifs and if-onlys. I asked him to try something simple. For just 5 minutes a day, sit quietly and focus on his breath. Notice the inhale. Notice the exhale. When your mind wanders, gently bring it back. Carlos laughed at first. 5 minutes won't change anything, he said. But after a month, he returned, his face softer. I still don't know what the market will do, he admitted, but I'm not drowning in the uncertainty anymore. Another tool is non-attachment. Non-attachment is not about indifference, it is about holding life lightly, recognizing that our happiness does not depend on things staying the same. Let me share the story of an old monk and a thief. One night, a thief broke into the monk's hut, finding nothing of value. Furious, the thief shouted, "Where is your money, your jewels?" The monk calmly replied, "I have nothing to steal, but let me give you this." He handed the thief his tattered robe. The thief, confused, left empty-handed. The next morning the monk sat outside watching the sunrise. A villager asked, "Aren't you upset about the thief?" The monk smiled. "He gave me a gift. He reminded me that I am free because I have nothing to lose." Here's a practical exercise. Think of something you've been clinging to, a plan, a relationship, an expectation. Now, imagine holding it in your open palm, not your clenched fist. Feel the difference? This is non-attachment. It is the willingness to say, "I will give this my best and I will trust the process, whatever it brings." Resilience is often praised as the ability to bounce back from adversity. But what if we aimed for something deeper? What if, instead of just bouncing back, we learned to let go? Letting go is not about giving up. It is about recognizing that some things are not ours to control. It is about distinguishing between what we can change and what we cannot, and directing our energy accordingly. I think of a woman named Aisha, a refugee who had lost everything, her home, her family, her sense of security. When she first arrived in a new country, she was consumed by anger and grief. "Why did this happen to me?" she would ask. But over time, Aisha began to volunteer at a community centre, helping other refugees navigate their new lives. She told me, "I realized I couldn't change what happened, but I could change how I responded to it. And in helping others, I found a new kind of strength." Aisha's story is a testament to the power of letting go, not as resignation, but as liberation. There is an old Zen story about a man riding a horse. A villager shouts, "Where are you going?" The man replies, "I don't know. Ask the horse." This story reminds us that sometimes life carries us in directions we didn't plan. Our power lies not in controlling the horse, but in learning to ride with grace. When we embrace impermanence, we discover an inner peace that does not depend on external circumstances. We find a stability that comes from within, a quiet confidence that says, "No matter what happens, I will be okay." So where do we go from here? The path to peaceful acceptance is not a one-time journey. It is a daily practice, a way of being that we cultivate moment by moment. As we step into 2025 and beyond, the world will continue to change. But you do not have to be at the mercy of that change. You can learn to dance with it. You can find stability not in the illusion of control, but in the wisdom of acceptance. Let me leave you with the story of an old apple tree. For decades, it stood in a farmer's orchard, bearing fruit year after year. One winter, a storm split its trunk. The farmer, heartbroken, prepared to cut it down. But the next spring, new shoots sprouted from the wounded tree. It did not bear as much fruit as before, but what it produced was sweeter, richer. The tree had not just survived the storm, it had been transformed by it. Your life too is like that apple tree. You will face storms. You will bear scars. But those scars can become the places where new growth emerges. The question is not, will there be uncertainty? But how will you meet it? I invite you to start today. Begin with one breath, one moment of mindfulness, one act of letting go. Trust that each small step is leading you toward a deeper sense of peace. And remember, you are not alone on this path. We are all learning, growing, and finding our way together. So I leave you with this question. What is one thing you can let go of today? Share your journey. Support one another. Because in the end, it is not the absence of uncertainty that brings us peace, but the way we meet it, together, with open hearts and steady hands. Thanks for watching this video. Please like and share this video, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to click the bell icon so you'll be notified of when new videos get released. Namaste.